So Jesus died and was buried. And in order to really appreciate what happens next, we have to talk about resurrection as a concept. If you look at the Greco Roman world, the only times they talk about resurrection in the sense of a human being dying and then being raised from the dead and then living, from here on out, is in the context of this is what resurrection is, and we all know that doesn't happen. It's rare for them to even bring it up, but it's just about how we know that that's not possible. The only group of people in the ancient world that believed resurrection was possible were the Jewish people. And amongst the Jewish people, only two actual groups believed in resurrection. The first was the Pharisees, and we encountered them throughout Jesus' life. And the second were the Essenes. Now, the Essenes lived very secluded, reclusive lives in a settlement in an area called Qumran. And they're actually quite famous now because they produced the Dead Sea Scrolls. But both the Pharisees and the Essenes only believed that God would raise people from the dead in some kind of like last day, some cataclysmic event when God vindicates Israel and kills off all her enemies or something like that. Nobody saw Jesus' resurrection coming because nobody believed that God would raise somebody from the dead ahead of time and in such a way that this person would be raised from the dead and then be alive forever. Like, that is worldview shattering. That kind of departure from the standard beliefs in resurrection, whether you just believe it's not possible or you believe everybody will be raised in some end time later on, well, that departure of belief is really difficult to explain unless it, actually happened. But there's a lot more to be said because the point of John talking about the resurrection isn't so much that, hey, then Jesus was raised from the dead, so everything's okay now. But think about the details and the imagery John is using. He is a master storyteller. He began his gospel with, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And he evoked images of Genesis 1, the first narrative of God creating the universe. And that first narrative is of God creating the universe in 7 days, a week. Now, did you notice how he starts off his telling of the resurrection? It's the first day of the new week. It's the first day of the new week, and it begins in resurrection. So if he starts with the week of creation at the beginning of his gospel, and then he says the first day of the week there is new creation, it's like saying all of that was old creation. And now God, by raising Jesus from the dead, has done something new. This is all about new creation being transformed out of old creation. And of course, where is Jesus hanging out when they find him? Not just a graveyard, but John says that they are in a garden. So this new creation, this resurrection creation, is beginning in a garden. And who does Mary mistake Jesus for? Well, she mistakes him for the gardener. And in a very real way, she's actually correct. Jesus is this gardener of this new Eden, this new Garden of Eden that is breaking forth in new creation. The old creation, the old week has passed away and something new is actually breaking forth. And so now this resurrection reality, this new creation being brought forth out of the old that begins in this new revitalized garden with the gardener being Jesus, the resurrected one himself, from this point on begins spreading through hearts and through communities around the world.